In this mini lecture, we're going to be looking at Information Technology Management, otherwise known as ITM. So what is ITM? Well, basically, it takes a look at all of the information technology resources that are needed by an organization in order to do business. So this includes tangible resources, so hardware, computers, and also intangible resources like software and data. And so the main goal of IT management is to generate value by using appropriate technology. Again, that concept of creating efficiencies and effectiveness. So the role of IT has a couple components. One is strategic, and that is to make and implement decisions about the technologies that the firm will use. And sometimes it is to help a firm to achieve its strategic goals. And it's also operational. So managers in different departments have to make decisions about what their IT needs are. And the IT department helps to maintain these resources and provide support as needed. So let's look at the difference between hardware and software. So hardware is those physical tools and equipment that we use in order to collect, input, store, organize, and process data. So it's literally the things we can touch, the tangible things like our computers and all that technology equipment. And then software is the programs that provide instructions to our computers and our technology in order to do the work that we want to do. So there's different types of software. There's system software, which help our computer to operate. So things like Windows, that's probably the most common, especially for businesses and consumers. There are some others though. And then application software, and these help us to perform our desired tasks. So like Office or Adobe products. Right. We also use networks in IT management. So the internet is computer networks that operate under a common set of rules that allow us to communicate with each other. I think we've all used the internet, and there's different speeds, and there's different providers. Broadband is a huge thing. It's a huge, especially a huge issue in rural areas. And the great thing about broadband and why we want broadband is because it speeds up our internet and it allows us to transmit large amounts of information very quickly. An intranet is a private network that looks really similar to the internet, but and it still uses a web browser, but it limits access to a firm's employees. So basically, it allows all of the computers within a firm to talk to each other, but not the outside. And then an extranet is basically an intranet that allows limited access to a few people, so such as a group of suppliers or customers. I can give you a couple of examples. My first job was working in marketing, or my first job out of college was working in marketing, and the company that we used an intranet so that we could store everything within our network and we could access any files on that intranet when we were in the office. A lot of times now that's done on the cloud, which we'll talk about next. And then my second job, I sold office supplies, and it was through a company that was part of like a buying group. And so we used an extranet and we could go into the buying group and see whether what we needed was at different warehouses. And so just basically our suppliers and the companies that were part of this group could have access to that extranet, but our customers could not, and other businesses that weren't relevant could not. So those are just two examples. So cloud computing is really the thing of today, and it replaces or supplements these internally owned IT sources. So for example, so basically cloud computing uses a server and it can store and it's much more mobile. You have different applications, different databases. You can access it from everywhere. So for example, in the example where in my first job where we would go into work and we had access to all our files, but only if we were in the building. Now that could be hosted on the cloud, and we would have access to that anywhere, which is really important in today's day where many people are working remotely. And so the cloud offers, or cloud computing offers, an access to many computing resources at lower costs with much more capacity. And it allows more collaboration between employees and business partners, and can be much quicker, and has way faster speed. So this is really where the world of IT management is today is headed. IT management also looks at data and information. So data is all these facts and figures that we collect. We store it in databases, which are just files that have a lot of data that are organized based on some system. Information is really when we process that data to make meaning of it. And in order to have good information, it needs to be accurate, it needs to be relevant, it needs to be timely, and it needs to be understandable and secure. And so one way that we do this, and I think we're going to talk about this next, but we have data and databases that have all our data, and then we mine that data to make sense of it. So, and here we talk about that. So, a decision support system really gives managers access to data, and allows them to convert it to good information. Sometimes it's called a business intelligence system. And it really helps decision makers uncover hidden information. And again, it's stored in it's in a database, it's stored in a data warehouse where you have large organization-wide databases. And then we mine that data, and a lot of times we use statistics to do it, to uncover hidden patterns of relationships. So, for example, Target collects just a ton of data about their customers. Specifically, they look at what their customers are buying, and so they know the name. Especially with their Target Red Card, they know the name and addresses and so forth. So if you go to Target, you use your Target card or your credit card, and they know who you are, they'll actually track what you're buying. And they actually, through the use of data mining, they can look at your buying patterns and they can predict when somebody is having a baby based on their buying patterns. And they like this because when people have babies, they buy lots of new stuff. And so that's an example of how Target uses databases, data warehouses, and data mining. This will bring us to some of our ethical considerations a little later. So I think we've all heard of the term e-commerce. It's just really marketing, buying, and selling and servicing products over the web. It can be business to consumer, or it can be business to business. So business to consumer uses Web 2.0, which is really just about engaging and providing a better experience for our consumers. It includes things like advertising on the internet, such as email advertising, banner ads, websites, search engine optimization, social media marketing, which we're doing all of these things, and content management, in order to try to get people to start talking about our products on the web, which is viral marketing. So it's a huge thing today. I think we all have seen the impact of the internet and websites and search engine optimization, and social media and how it impacts marketing. Just a thing, search engine optimization, if you don't know what it is, it's basically um, creating your website in order to, and there's certain tips and tricks you can use in order to come up first on a search engine like Google. It's kind of fun. I've done a little bit of it. It's pretty fun and satisfying when the website you're creating and you use all the tips and tricks and you get it to be one of the top 3 results on Google. And that's the goal because people are more likely to click on the first result. And then e-commerce is used in business to business, things like handling payments electronically, processing credit cards, selling things online. Some companies use radio frequency identification or RFID, which stores information on small chips. So rather than barcodes, they use RFID, and then when it's within range of a scanner, it'll scan it. But again, all of this has concerns for businesses. There is malware, which is malicious software, spyware that basically puts things on our computer and basically collects information about what we're looking at, viruses, spam, so emails that are sent to a large number of recipients. phishing scams, which look like official emails, but trying to get information from people, farming scams that try to steal identities, hackers who hack in and steal your data. I've had my data stolen probably 3 times now. Once was, I think, at Target on their Black Friday. I used my credit card and somebody hacked in. I had a student loan with Wells Fargo and somebody hacked into that. So it just happens. There are ways to prevent hacking, such as frequent backups, encrypting data, which basically puts it into a language you can't read unless you, because it's encrypted, strong passwords, firewalls. These are all things. And then there's ethical considerations. So people are concerned about their privacy. Firms track customers' behavior. They track what we're looking at on the web, and then they retarget us with ads about the products that we've looked at. They collect data about us when we don't even know what's being collected. And so for some people, it's no big deal, but for some people, they feel it's a real invasion of their privacy. And then there's always intellectual issues. And so, intellectual property is basically things that we invent or we create. And unfortunately, the internet has made it very easy to steal that stuff. So, and there are no global intellectual property. So if I have a patent in the US, it doesn't mean I only have a patent in the US. So somebody from another country could come in, but take my product, recreate it, and sell it in another country. And there's no protection for that unless you get a patent in every country. Same with copyrights. And the rules are different in every country. So there's just a lot of ethical considerations and concerns when we look at IT management. So that's a brief overview of ITM. I hope that you found this informative. Thanks.